Sripad Srivallabh, the first avatar of Guru Datta. Pithapuram, modern day southern state of Andhra Pradesh in India, East Godavari district, a town reverberating with spiritual energy, a hub of spiritual activity. The year was 1320. There lived a poor Brahmin family in the town, the Sharma family. Father Appala Raju, mother Sumati, and their two sons, Sridhara and Ramaraja. Both the sons were differently abled, one blind, the other unable to walk. The father supported the family by doing priestly chores. All in all, they managed to survive year on year. However, being a priestly family, the atmosphere in the house was intensely spiritual. As was the custom then, each year on the day of Shraddha, a yearly ceremony to pay homage to the departed souls, the family used to feed other Brahmins. Some months back, the Sharma family was busy with the cooking and rituals involved in the Shraddha ceremony. The protocol was to complete the prayers, feed the Brahmins, and only then eat or share food with others. That year, however, something happened to the family. A wandering sage with a divine glow on his radiant face came at the doorsteps of the Sharma household seeking alms. The mother, Sumati, believed in the classic dictum of Atithi Deva Bhava, meaning a guest is like a god. Ignoring the protocol of the ceremony, she gave him food. Pleased with her, addressing her as mother, he asked her what kind of blessings she would wish for. Being impressed with his personality, she asked him to be blessed with a son who had his radiance and divine glow. The sage blessed her, told her that the wish would be fulfilled, and left. On hearing this blessing by the sage, the father Appala Raju was very happy. After that day, the couple had dreams of various deities and holy men almost every night. Most dreams centered around the holy trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. Sumati was by now convinced the sage who had come over to their house was none other than Guru Datta himself. Soon enough, Sumati was expecting her third child. Her husband consulted all the holy men in town, and sure enough, they told him that he is going to be blessed with a great soul being born in his house. On the auspicious day of Ganesh Chaturthi in the year 1320, their third son was born in their house. They named him Sripad Srivallabh. Sripad as he had auspicious signs on his feet, and Srivallabh as he had divine luster and grace. It was as if the entire town of Pithapuram was blessed by his arrival. The parents later had three more daughters, Vidyadhari, Radha, and Surekha. Sripad was a precocious child, as was evident from the time of his birth itself. Physically, at the age of a month, he could walk comfortably. He had an unusual ability with spiritual knowledge. By the age of 7, he could understand and recite the most complex of the religious scriptures. He attended the council of scholars and was able to comprehend the ongoing discussions. At the age of 7, it was time for his thread ceremony, the Upanayana. The ceremony was conducted in the house and endowed Sripad with the sacred thread. In theory, it was time for his actual education to begin. However, he already had a head start in this. By the time he was 17, the precocious child was now a highly educated youth, full of brilliance, radiance, and having an aura of divinity all over him. As per the society then, it was time for his marriage, for both boys and girls married back then almost immediately on arrival of puberty. When his mother first told him this, Sripad told them that he would want to renounce the worldly life and lead an austere life, showing the true path to people all over and helping them alleviate their problems. The mother, being a mom, cried uncontrollably but in vain. Sripad had made his decision. However, the divinity in Sripad also understood the practical part of his mom's sorrow. He asked his mother to summon both his brothers. When they came, he placed his hands over both their heads. The world was now a witness to the first miracle performed by Sripad. His brother Sridhara was now able to see, and his brother Ramaraja had his gait restored by the disappearance of pain. Both brothers later in life went ahead to become intellectuals on their own merits. Sripad bade farewell to his family, his father, mother, brothers, and sisters. To attain spiritual purity and clarity of knowledge, he first went to the Himalayas. He went to Varanasi, Badrinath, Kedarnath, and then on to Kailash Manasarovar. After spending time there, he went deep south to Gokarna in modern Karnataka, and then on to Sri Shaila in modern Andhra Pradesh. Finally, he went to Kuruvapur in modern Karnataka and stayed there. Kuruvapur is on the banks of river Krishna. Sadguru Sripad established his base in that small town. He preached every day of the week. He spread the word and philosophy of Guru Datta to all those who came to his abode or ashram. He fed the villagers and all those who came to him with the help of various donations he received. His own appetite itself was very meager. A handful of rice, jawar, or some millet was more than enough for him. Tales of his compassion and miracles spread all over. In Kuruvapur, there lived a widow named Ambika along with her son, whose late husband was a learned man. Although having been born to an illustrious father, his son was a near dimwit. The poverty at their place was precarious, and he was subject to a lot of ridicule because of all this. Becoming unbearable, he and his mom Ambika decided to commit suicide. On the banks of the river, they met Sadguru Sripad. Feeling compassion for both of them, he blessed Ambika. He then told her that in her next birth she would be his own mother. He further blessed the son and moved his hands over the boy's head. The boy, thus blessed, felt a change in him and in due course became a learned person who led a normal life. He advised both the mother and son to live the rest of their lives worshipping Shiva. The teachings of Guru Datta had by now spread far and wide. He now had a large following with a lot of disciples. At a very young age, though, he knew he had accomplished his mission on earth. In the year 1350, Sadguru decided to bid farewell to all. He walked down the river Krishna and disappeared. Before doing this, he had promised his disciples his continued presence in Kuruvapur. It is believed that Sadguru is a Chiranjeevi, an immortal. He has disappeared since then, but his existence is still felt as a Tejaru in the form of pure energy. Disciples and believers still go there from all over the world to feel his mystic presence. We salute this great soul, the first avatar of Guru Datta.